about Chinese medicine, classical Chinese medicine. What Dylan asked me to talk about today is the Fire God School or Fire Sage School, which I wrote here, the portion. And before we start, I want to say something. I talked to Dylan right before the class, and also a friend of mine who teaches in one of the schools here in the States for many years told me, when we go to school for 3-4 years, we all know that we don't study Chinese medicine. After we graduate, that's when we really start learning Chinese medicine. And what I'm trying to talk about today is really not what we have to do in school or not, because we have all kinds of requirements today to study Western medicine and get the license, things that many times are not really related to Chinese medicine. But what I want to talk about today is Chinese medicine. So it's sometimes could be not related to what we study in school. But nonetheless, in the last 2,000 years, they were the core of Chinese medicine. When we talk about the Fire Sage School, or the so-called Fire Sage School, or the Fire God School, in reality, there is no such school. People who practice this, they don't call themselves the Fire God School. It's only other people call them the Fire God School. Meaning, and the reason is they use hot herbs like fuzhe, rogui, ganjiang, and all these things in big quantities. And people just don't understand why they do that. So they say this is something which is separate from us. Like, we don't necessarily dig it. This belongs to the Hunyuan. This is the Fire Sage School. But the founder of the Fire Sage School, and I call it on purpose Fire Sage School because the name Hunyuan means fire god or fire spirit. But when people called Zheng Qing'an, the founder of this school at the late 1800s, he is like a fire god, they didn't mean he's a god of fires. He's like a sage, a man that excels all normal capabilities of using Chinese medicine, meaning he mastered it so much that he would just heal people in a very, very amazing way. So they call him like fire sage, the one who deals with fire like a sage. So that's why I use the new term Fire Sage School. But this school, for people that I know that practice these methods of Zheng Qing'an, which basically are the method of Zhang Zhongjing from the Shanghan Lun, there's nothing to say that it is a school. It's not different. This is Chinese medicine for us practicing it, and a very potent one. So I want to bring a story that I shared before, if some of you watched the webinars I did on TCM TV, of a friend of mine who did with me the doctoral program in California. And he had an accident. A boulder fell on his hand and smashed 3 of his fingers. And they airlifted him to the hospital and they looked at it. The doctor said, listen, everything is crashed. It's already black. All the blood vessels are crashed. And probably we'll give it another 3 days or so, and then we have to amputate the fingers. So now this guy is doing the doctoral with me in the school, and there's like in Santa Cruz, about 5,000 acupuncturists. And on the faculty there, everyone is 20, 30, 40 years practicing Chinese medicine. Unanimously, everybody told him, use blood-moving herbs, right? Because the doctor said all the vessels are crashed, let's start moving the blood. But from what I study, researching the classics and the Shanghan Lun, or what we call the Fire Sage School, which is not really a school, it's just understanding Chinese medicine or the roots of the problem. The fingers are black, which is the Shaoyin color of the kidney coming out. And the Neijing said when this color comes out, it means life wants to separate. That's why the fingers are going to fall off or die out. So the treatment action is to revive the Shaoyin fire, meaning bring life back. This is the root, what the Fire Sage holds on to so dearly. How do we bring the life back? So because he read my book already at the time, it was just a manuscript, not published yet, and he really liked it and was impressed by it, he asked me, he called me, I was in Connecticut, he's in California. I didn't even see him. He said, what do you think I should do? So I wrote him a prescription with 150 grams of foods and many other hot herbs, rogui, guizhe, ganjiang, everything, banxia, etc. And not one single herb to move the blood. Not tao ren, not siwutang, none of these herbs, not dangui. And he said, I'll do it. He has only 3 days. But he said, I really want to save my fingers. So every day he drinks 200 grams of fudze. And fudze, obviously there's a big issue with that. It needs to have good quality, etc., etc. Need to know what you're doing. You can't just use the Chinatown fudze here. So need to have traditionally prepared fudze, which I sent him overnight him. And he used 200 grams of fudze every day for 3 days. Then went back to the surgeon. The surgeon said, a miracle. Fingers are alive again. Got the color back. But what do you think would happen if you would use blood-moving herbs? In my opinion, the fingers would probably fall off by themselves. Don't need to complete it. The same is right now. Before I came here, there was a patient from North Carolina who just came here to the city for a visit. And I told her I'll be here, coming here, and she asked me if I can see her. I saw her maybe, I don't know, a few years ago, and I told her that I will speak about her when I come to this class. She has like a problem of hot flashes, but really raging hot flashes of the worst kind, that you can't go to sleep all night and it feels really hot. And every year she calls me for about the last 2-3 years. She said, I had really these terrible hot flashes, and I went to the doctors. They want to put me on hormone replacement therapy, etc., etc. They said I'm in menopause. So I sent her this herbal formula, this style of Chinese medicine. And she said every time she takes it for 2 days, the hot flashes are gone for the next year. So every year it starts recurring because she runs marathon or do stuff, sweats a lot. All of a sudden hot flashes come back again. She got it, and 2 weeks ago she called me again with the hot flashes, and I sent her the formula. And I just met her before in Starbucks here on the next block, and she said she couldn't come. She has to catch the flight. But she said it took 2 days. The doctor said we have to put you on hormone replacement therapy. What do you think, how long will she have to be on the HRT? If not for the next 10 years. So she took her 2 days of herbal formulas to correct that. So at the end, what it comes down with the people that practice this kind of medicine that other people name fire god school, is really the clinical efficacy of it. And it's not that we use super hot herbs all the time, but we do use them most of the time, but not all the time. Sometimes if you use it, it's a catastrophe. But if you can't tell the difference, then you're going to have catastrophes frequenting your practice. And that's a really bad thing for acupuncturists. So in the course that I'm doing now, started this month, I have a group of acupuncturists. They all practice for 20 years or more, that want to go back to the classics, and they started studying with me this stuff. The reason is the clinical efficacy. Meaning Chinese medicine, the way it used to work in the time of Zhang Zhongjing and throughout the ages, was very, very potent kind of medicine. And today it's kind of like dwindling down because of all kinds of requirements and constrictions imposed on our medicine by not acupuncturists. Right? What you can do, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, otherwise, license and the such. So for us, Chinese medicine practitioners, to learn the real root of Chinese medicine, like meaning what is really significant and how can we use potent medicine without errors, is really, really important, even more important than Western doctors, because Western medicine is super potent, but they have liability insurance and malpractice insurance, and if patient die, God forbid, it's not their problem. They do what the medicine allows them to do. But for us, the medicine doesn't allow us much, except using what we call even soups, meaning medicine that is not very strong. It's okay, it's strong sometimes, but not really. And the results are like this too. 100 acupuncturists recommended to my friend to use similar herbal formulas, and they were all wrong. So meaning also following with the herd